Their dread of you stems from what you may do, not from what you have done. Keep this in mind, my beloved chosen ones. Nobody would care to watch you if you were just background noise. No files containing your name would be opened. There would be no quiet onlookers following you around. You don't get surveillance in the shadows. Threats do, and they perceive you, my chosen ones, as a live danger to the order they hold dear. You should be aware of your power only from that. Steel is never used to construct the best cages. They are composed of whispers, invisible eyes, and continual observation that is intended to make you question yourself. Let me change the story, however. Allow me to demonstrate how their attentiveness is the most audible testament to your power. It's evidence every time you feel the weight of unseen eyes. Evidence that you are not unimportant. Evidence of your strength. Evidence that your presence distorts reality in ways they are unable to stop. Are you wondering why me? Why did they decide to keep an eye on me? This is your response. Because diversity is what makes you unique. Just by being here, you mess with their calculations. They're not amused by your presence. Your stillness is more powerful than your loudness, which is why they watch you. They observe your pauses, responses, laughs, lifting of a drink of water, and shifting under pressure. They must decipher each movement as if it were an encrypted code. This isn't paranoia, my elect. It's customary. Specific instructions have been issued to someone somewhere. Don't take your eyes off them. The inquisitive neighbor leaning on the fence is not this person. This is not just a pointless curiosity. This is a scientific, clinical, and purposeful observation. You are both the mystery and the experiment, the wild card and the lab rat. They must never give up on deciphering the pattern, which they are unable to fully foresee. And even if it seems unnerving, let's be honest. Remember that you have more power over the screenplay than you may think if you were chosen to appear in their covert documentary. I need you to take action that supports our purpose, chosen ones, before we delve further into these facts. Show your support if what you've heard thus far has moved you, if it has caused you to stop, think again, or feel that inner fire. Press the like button and subscribe immediately. We are able to continue providing you with information that challenges, inspires, and energizes you because of every click, subscription, and act of support. We continue to create together in this way. How we ensure that the people who need these transformative messages the most continue to hear them. Consider this. Resources are scarce. Are they squandered on shadows? The number. They aim them toward the flames. They target those who, just by being, defy the laws of reality. Reality is distorted by you, my chosen ones. You are intimidating enough to make people uneasy, daring enough to pique their interest, and upsetting enough to need their undivided attention. The force of gravity is you, not them. You tilt the field, not them. Type amen to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. So, consider whether this is a confirmation or a curse. Doesn't it indicate that someone sees something in you that you haven't even started to see in yourself if they invest this much effort in observing you? They aren't recording a typical existence. They are mapping out the possibilities. They are not looking at what you did yesterday, but rather at what you could do tomorrow, and tomorrow is your day. They are not aware of shadows. They pay attention to signals. The signal is you. Your decisions reverberate. Your presence changes the space. The simple fact that you refuse to vanish causes a disturbance, and they are frightened by that disturbance. They can't ignore you, therefore they keep an eye on you. Since they can't foresee you, they keep an eye on you, and they expose the truth in their last-ditch effort to dominate your tale. They fear it. Yes, you will be put to the test. Indeed, they will examine you as if you were charts data points. But keep in mind that they only act in this way because you have power. Your presence compels systems to pay attention, which is why you bend them. Can you imagine how frustrated they were? Chosen ones, when they are unable to predict your future action, regardless of how much they measure. Just think about how that would burn them. You have that power. You're not invisible. You don't have no power. You're not a supporting character in someone else's narrative. They are forced to prepare reports late at night because of you. They can't overlook the abnormality that is you. This is where the irony lies. Their fixation is proof of your impact, even if they believe they are studying you. Each page of their file serves as a prize for your importance. Your gravity is shown by every covert camera. Lean in, my chosen ones. Don't flinch from their stares. Recognize the significance of being watched at this level. It's not a bad thing. It's not a penalty. Type Amen to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. It serves as a reminder of your significance in this world. They don't create whole playbooks for insignificant people. They only do this for those who are in positions of power that cause systems to tremble. And that's who you are, my beloved ones. You are not weak because someone is watching you. It is evidence of your value. As we go further, keep this in mind. You will see surveillance for what it really is by the time you have finished listening to me. A symbol of your importance, a reminder of your power, and a tool you may use to hurt others. The first strike is awareness, and the ones you have selected are already awake. And selected ones, allow me to take a moment to express my gratitude. You indeed. Your presence here is what allows us to continue shedding light on the realities they would want to keep concealed, regardless of whether you are embarking on this path for the first time or have been with us from the start. Show your strength now if you can feel the weight of those invisible eyes and you know deep down that someone has explicit orders to keep an eye on you. Press the like button if you're prepared to use their spying as evidence of your dominance. Hit subscribe and leave the number 11 in the comments. And think about using super to help our objective if you really want to. Regards. It enables us to keep working harder and deliver messages that awaken the globe. Let's get started step by step. And trust me when I say that if you are really chosen, you'll be able to identify each and every indication because they aren't random. These are the precise signs that are never experienced by the ordinary, but only by those who are selected. Let's begin. First of all, your moral code is being secretly drafted. They are sketching your character's covert blueprint. Here's the truth, chosen ones. But if I've done nothing wrong, why should I fear? Being innocent doesn't shield you in this game. There is no consideration of fairness at all. Truth is not important. It's practical. With the raw material of your own life at their disposal, they don't need to fabricate falsehoods about you. They have the ability to remove context, piece together pieces, and publish a version of you that fits their plan. It isn't about the actual events. It all comes down to what is most practical at the moment. Imagine this. One detail from many years ago. You forgot a message. A secret outburst of rage. Until the day it becomes the trump card, it remains silent in their archive. They hoard data in the same way that businesses hoard wealth or governments store weapons. The majority of it seems meaningless until it isn't. An whole deal may be swayed by that overlooked information. The evidence provided at the right time to undermine your credibility or the tacit blackmail that keeps someone in line. You feel this weight, yet are unable to identify it. The weight that comes from knowing that tomorrow's assaults could already be in their hands, rather than from what is occurring right now. Your feelings are not holy to them. The rage you feel is a commodity. Your anxieties are only tokens. You may use your silence as a tactic. They also research when to disclose things in addition to what you reveal. Their best weapon is timing. Here's the harsh reality, chosen ones. Taking control of your secrets entails taking control of your story. Your life's exchange rate is in the hands of whomever owns your tale. They will give you hints about what they know if they want you to cooperate. They will remind you of what they have seen if they want you to remain silent. Additionally, they will recast those same secrets into a polished persona that serves their interests if they want to advance you. Your reality is not your own in this market. It's collateral. However, allow me to remind you of this. Your worth is shown by the fact that they use your life as cash. They don't gather useless items. Shadows are not archived by them. The strongest signals in the room are the ones you have selected from their archive. Your influence counts and your voice has weight. Thus your secrets are being exchanged. Because it is impossible to overlook your ability to create disruption. And here is the unanticipated chance. Their economy may be turned around. You depreciate their stock every time you utter what they believe they might use as a weapon, and every time you claim your truth. Their archive burns to ash when you refuse to let your history disgrace you. They lose advantage when you transform weakness into strength. An economy based on secrets you no longer conceal is the only one that implodes in an instant. Thus, selected ones realize that their market is monitoring, but your weapon is knowledge. Their currency plummets the instant you assert your tale, even if they may trade your quiet like gold. You strike them the hardest that way, by managing the trade on your own terms, not by hiding. Subtle experiments are the third method of determining where you break. To determine where you bend and shatter, they test your edges. Not every enemy hits with a hammer. Selected ones. The more astute ones repeatedly push with a fingertip until they are certain of the precise spot where you will bruise. Pay close attention, my beloved selected ones. You don't just end up in chaos. Random storms don't bring it. It comes in calculated pushes, controlled dosages, and well-planned experiments that are supposed to expose you. They test you to see how you can be destroyed, should they ever feel the need to do so, rather than to completely destroy you. This explains why the pressure often seems so oddly timed. A rumor surfaced at the perfect time. When you're already overburdened, a favor is requested. To see whether you defend yourself, or if you back down and apologize, an intimate detail was mentioned inappropriately. It's not all random. Every prod, poke, and annoyance is an opportunity to gather data. They're not observing to make fun of your suffering. They are timing your posture, tone, and reaction time. Your responses are not emotions, regardless of whether you express them in public or keep quiet about them. Coordinates are what they are. Have you ever had the experience of the tiniest exam seeming larger than it should be? This is because the rumor, the favor, and the leak were never the main topics. You were the focus. Even at your own expense, would you defend your close circle? If you wanted to avoid tension, would you confess fault? If you knew it would result in greater heat, would you still maintain your ground? They can learn a lot from this little intersection. Most importantly, these trials aren't designed to shatter you in a single hit. They are not required to. All they have to do is draw the outline. Until the pattern is evident, each little test contributes to a profile. When you're disgraced, do you fold? Do you give in to incentives? Is reasoning more appealing to you than emotion? Or do you give it a loyalty? Until they know precisely which lever pushes you and which lever freezes you. Each response refines their outline of your edges. The chosen ones keep this in mind. Their weapon is predictability. Your defense is surprise. Consider it similar to calibrating. To determine the note you will play under what pressure, they're tuning an instrument. Furthermore, it's not casual at all. They don't squander energy where it isn't needed since resources are limited. They label you as untrustworthy and too brittle for important tasks if you lose your temper under little strain. They begin preparing you, either for influence or for more difficult tests, if you remain calm throughout minor upheavals. They consider you beneficial for appearances but dangerous behind closed doors if you falter in private but excel in front of the camera. This goes beyond your selected breaking points. It has to do with your repair systems. They calculate the time it takes to recover. They observe who assists you in rebuilding. They record whether you remain cracked or return stronger. The experiment even includes your recuperation time, since it informs them how long you may be sidelined before you get back up. The twist they don't want you to know, however, is this. You are hazardous to them, which is why they are testing you so extensively. They wouldn't need the calibration if you were a regular person. Shadows are never tested. Forces are tested, and the ones you have selected are powerful. What happens, therefore, when they believe they have you figured out, yet you don't follow their pattern? You tremble the earth below them. They are wrong in their forecast. They are the ones who are exposed when their script breaks. Remember my selected ones always. Control, not drama, is the aim of these exams. They can preempt you if they are able to forecast you. They can guide you if they can map you. However, you reverse their weapon when you start being erratic, not crazy, but purposefully disciplined. You destroy the value of their charts. Their investments are wasted because of you. Exposure is not the most risky result for you. It is possible to endure exposure. Being completely known by those who would use that knowledge as a weapon is the real threat. Your defense shouldn't be perfect because of this. It's to be aware. Aware of how you respond, how you bounce back, and how you don't let patterns control you. Let the chosen ones push. Allow them to exert pressure. However, let each test demonstrate this reality. You're not a person who is readily mapped. You're more than just a set of buttons and levers. You're not just their statistics. And each time you surpass their expectations, you strike them in the most painful spot, their delusion of control. Fourth, your inconsistencies are being heaped up like ammo. They're gathering your paradoxes like ammo for a conflict down the road. Chosen ones, they don't have to make up falsehoods about you. When your inconsistencies are removed from their context, they become more potent weapons than any fabrication could possibly be. My selected ones pay close attention. They aren't waiting for you to make a disastrous mistake or get involved in a huge controversy. They are careful, systematic, and patient. Their goal is far more straightforward and, in many respects, more riskier. They're creating a silent archive of all the contradictions you have experienced in your life. Your statements and your private decisions, your words and your deeds. These pieces are not being gathered by them out of interest. They are hoarding them for use as weapons. Weapons that can be employed when it is most advantageous to them. The adversary gets irritated by this. Their fixation on your paradoxes is how they show themselves. Because your discrepancies would blend into the background like everyone else's if you were normal. There is no point in listing the hypocrisy of shadows. Only those who are selected, those whose influence is so great that even minor flaws in the picture need to be preserved for future use, are subjected to this. Consider it. You could think such little moments are inconsequential. That day when you say you're patient, then you lose it. When it's inconvenient, you retreat in quiet after talking about community. You consider things to be just human errors. However, to those who are observing, they're not slips. They are threads. Additionally, whole textiles may unravel when threads are plucked. Lies are not what they wait for. They use pieces of truth as weapons. This is their plan. When they can put together a tale from your own disparate fragments, there's no need to start a controversy. Even the complete truth is not required. All it needs to do is feel real. When presented with a tale that makes sense, people seldom ever go beyond the obvious. And selected contrasts are like sparks. They arouse suspicion more quickly than words can. Consider this. Why would someone choose to keep these paradoxes rather than throw them away? Because your intricacy does not represent humanity to them. It's a liability. Your contradictions are cash to them. They may eventually slowly leak them, a steady stream of uncertainty that gradually erodes confidence. On a different day, they may all be released at once, destroying your reputation in one go. In any case, their weapon is patience. When it is most advantageous to them, they attack, wait, and archive. Here, however, the selected ones reverse the roles. That you are living, changing, and unpredictable is also shown by your very contradictions, which people treasure. This kind of documentation is not necessary for regular individuals who are easily boxed. Only those with actual presence and leverage are examined in this detail. They dread your inconsistencies because they make you difficult to manage, not because they make you weak. Someone who is always changing, evolving, and shattering stereotypes cannot be scripted. This is not seen as weakness by my selected ones. They will attempt to use your mismatches as a weapon, yes. They will try to break up your story, yes. However, realize that the fact that they must go through your background, put pieces together, and wait for the ideal opportunity to attack demonstrates one thing. The game is already being twisted by you. You already possess sufficient strength to warrant this kind of investment. It is not your demise that is being documented when someone maintains a ledger of your inconsistencies. They are afraid of your ascent. How would you respond to this, then? Before they do, by grasping the reality of your own inconsistencies. Take possession of them. Give them credit. Make use of them as evidence that you are a human being and not a computer that can be anticipated or programmed. Because their leverage vanishes when you take responsibility. In your hands, the weapon they made becomes dull. Recall the selected ones. Morality has nothing to do with their archive. It has to do with control. They want to determine when support breaks down, when forgiveness is extended, and when trust is retracted. They want to be triggered by your discrepancies. However, this is the reality. Pretending to be perfect does not give you power. Refusing to let pieces define you is your power. Walk with this understanding, then. Yes, your inconsistencies are being compiled by them. They will attempt to use them as evidence against you. Yes. However, if you accept such paradoxes as a necessary component of your development, they might serve as your shield. A chosen one who embraces complexity as strength is beyond their control, and it is the most devastating strike you can deal the adversary. Fifth, your affiliations are predicted by radar like storms. Instead than predicting your friendships, they predict your alliances like storms. The grin next to you doesn't frighten them. When the storm comes, they are afraid of the army that may be behind you. Let's get rid of the delusion, chosen ones. They don't keep track of who publicly applauds you or loves your content. The cacophony of handshakes, parties, and kind remarks don't appeal to them. This is what matters to them. Who comes to your side when the sky is gloomy? Who stays when the pressure builds, the scandal grows, and the loss occurs? They're keeping a close eye on it with the accuracy of a storm forecaster. Consider it this way. A friendship could seem intimate to you. Your affiliations are weather systems to them. They gauge pressure rather than mood. When your name is spoken, they record who silently leaves. To keep you stable, they risk their own reputation by recording who comes forward. When things are quiet, they don't care who celebrates you. Who protects you from lightning strikes is important to them. They call it data, and you call it loyalty. And this is the point at which their icy calculating is most noticeable. An ally who tweets in support of you, but vanishes when the actual repercussions hit is a poor signal to them. On your chart, however, the person who turns up at your court date, hospital bed, or at your lowest moment without announcing it becomes a point of strength. This is how they weigh your circle, my selected ones. Smiles aren't how they gauge it. They use sacrifice as a yardstick. Why is this so important to them? You may wonder. Because relationships under fire show how durable or disposable you are. They consider a chosen one who has a network that remains intact throughout storms to be harmful. Dangerous not because they are violent or rebellious, but because they're difficult to remove. You become more difficult to quiet, bury, and isolate when your friends stand their ground. Let's now take aim at the adversary. They are afraid that you, their chosen one, will create a circle that is so strong that not even their storms can break it. They fear the day when your name becomes a rallying cry rather than a burden. For this reason, they examine your partnerships like radar screens, searching for flaws, anticipating cracks, and determining where the collapse would occur most quickly. Take note of how they research retreat pace. They label you as volatile, a plague that no one wants to touch, if your circle disperses like dominoes at the slightest sign of rumors. However, you scare your supporters by demonstrating your ability to weather storms if they gather around you in defiance. And momentum is necessary for survival. And power comes from momentum and selected ones. They consider more than simply the number of people who support you. The surface is deceived by numbers. They research the identities of such allies. A group of casual friends is not as dangerous as a small group of tenacious, experienced defenders who are prepared to risk actual expenses. A dozen indifferent co-workers are worthless. However, you are untouchable if you are one of the few who have been tried, who have taken a risk in the past, and who would take another one. Their predictions are thus ambiguous. Thus, comprehend these selected ones. They're creating profiles of everyone who loves, supports, and stands up for you, not just you. They cross-reference previous actions. Who spoke out at the expense of others? When you needed them most? Who didn't say anything? Their models are constructed similarly to climate charts, indicating contagion risk, volatility, and durability. Your friendships are not sentimental to them. They have the ability to foretell. Tools. The harsh reality is as follows. Your ascent or decline in their ledger often relies more on the trajectory of your partnerships than on your own actions. Do they see you encircled by stalwart, ferocious guardians? After that, You are seen as a long-term investment who may be deployed, raised, or developed. Do they notice that everyone around you runs away when danger starts? You are then labeled as disposable, someone who will pass out without help. But, selected ones, this is your power. This prognosis does not leave you helpless. You may consciously nurture your alliances. Instead of choosing the many who will fade, you may choose the few who will endure. You may test their strength, keep your circle safe, and determine who will be left when the sky goes dark. Your unpredictability makes you impenetrable, and your foresight makes you unexpected. The mountain is not scared of a storm. It merely shows which trees were always hollow and which had roots. So keep this in mind, my selected ones. They could keep an eye on your circle like the weather, but the truth will always come out in the storm. Join others who are standing with you. Never confuse superficial loudness with true allegiance. Instead, defend your center. Because your allies will be more afraid of the storm you will weather and the sun you will rise into thereafter if your alliances are stronger. Sixth, algorithms' most effective tools are their little habits. Your simplest behaviors are the food for the algorithms. Chosen ones, it's not the storms that turn on you. They foretell your whole future by counting the rains one by one. Let's get right to the core of this reality, my beloved chosen ones. Your biggest conflicts, your dramatic moments, and your huge speeches are not what are being used to evaluate you. No, it's something far tiny and almost undetectable that exposes you the most. It's the automatic way you move. They observe everything, yet the patterns are so regular that you hardly notice them. These little repeats are the lifeblood of watches and algorithms. Your confessions are not necessary for them. All they need are your behaviors. They have particular orders to closely monitor you because of this. Because your patterns are powerful, unlike the norm. On the concealed map they're creating of you, here are the locations for every apology I've missed, every I'll do it tomorrow, and every I've been busy. The meaning of what you say is irrelevant to them. They are interested in how consistently you behave. I'll give you the painful reality to help you understand this. And justification may seem innocuous to you. You know how everyone says, I'll get to it soon. However, the algorithm does not consider it innocuous. It considers it proof. Excuses are not insignificant. They're signals. They show procrastination, avoidance, or a lack of focus. It's hardly a coincidence if you apply the same justification in many contexts. It's a prediction, and as the stakes are bigger, that prognosis turns into a prediction about your behavior. Is it true that they are observing my little mistakes? Even when I don't apologize? Yes, particularly at that time, as each omitted apology conveys to them your level of concern for making amends or your preference to go on and let things work themselves out. It lets people know whether you're self-preservationist or if responsibility is in your DNA. The terrifying portion comes next. They're not making moral judgments about you. They're only inquiring as to whether this characteristic will make them resilient or cause them to break down in the future. And selected ones, something considerably more subtle is involved. You may stand up for a lot of things, but you will always remain quiet about one person, one organization, or one cause. All of your defenses put together are no match for that quiet. It displays prejudice, implicit beliefs, or unsaid grudges. That quiet is precious to the onlookers. You're more profoundly defined by what you habitually avoid than by what you try once in a while. Promises are not as loud as patterns. The law of algorithms is that. You may claim to be loyal, honest, and compassionate, but your words will fall apart if your actions reveal otherwise. The observers are aware of this. They don't worry about your public statements because of this. They keep an eye on your defaults, your actions while no one is around, the routines you don't challenge, the justifications you unconsciously repeat. But isn't this unfair? Don't my intentions count for something? You could be questioning yourself now. The selected ones will respond that intentions are invisible to them. They're just patterns to be seen. This is where your power is. If they're measuring patterns, then you can master patterns. Consistent action may take the place of every repeated excuse. Consistent responsibility may take the place of every missed apology. It takes bravery to break any stillness. And when you do that, their algorithms fail and their projections fall apart. When your patterns don't align with their predictions, just think of how frustrated your researchers must be. Picture the anxiety when the person they have selected abruptly redraws the map with new routines, resilience, and consistency. At that point, you become unstoppable and cease to be predictable. Remember the ones you have chosen. They may evaluate you without a heroic sacrifice or a spectacular betrayal. All they need are your behaviors. However, when you choose your habits carefully, they become your most powerful tool. Because you may be set free using the same consistency that they use to trap you. Growth, strength, and refusal to shrink are all consistent. No algorithm can use such patterns as a weapon against you. This is the last attack against the adversary. The premise behind their strength is that you won't recognize your own tendencies. But you do now. You can't be lowered once you realize that. Because you may identify yourself according to your own criteria, using the same thing they believed would expose you. Let them observe your habits, selected ones. Allow them to record all defaults and patterns. Because you won't be betrayed by your simplest actions from now on. They'll declare you. Additionally, you transform their greatest weapon into their worst loss each time you make a conscious decision. Seventh, the timing for the downfall of your reputation has already been determined. They don't assess your innocence. They measure your collapse curve. Chosen ones, you don't have to be guilty. It is sufficient for them to know how long it would take to see your burning and how soon you would recover. Listen carefully, my chosen ones. The people watching aren't seated in dimly lit chambers arguing about your guilt or innocence. They have no business doing it. They have a much more calculating and colder perspective. They want a collapse curve and a deadline. They want to know how quickly your circle would disperse, how long indignation would be attached to your name, and if you would either crawl back or completely disappear. Your honesty isn't what makes you valuable to them. The speed at which you recover is what makes you valuable. You live in a world like this. Durability, not morality, determines your reputation. When they look at you, they ask, if this one is struck down, how long before the noise dies? If the outrage can be contained and your credibility patched up quickly, they keep you in play. You are still useful. But if the wounds linger, if whispers turn into echoes that never fade, they mark you as too costly to save. To them, innocence is irrelevant. Efficiency is everything. Imagine this. A scandal surfaces. They don't rush to prove whether it's true. No, they measure the reaction. How fast does the story spread? How many allies defend you? How many neutral faces quietly shift to criticism? How long before the fire burns out? They test these questions by floating rumors, by pushing subtle triggers, by studying how quickly your name can heal. It's not about what happened. It's about what can be done with what happened. My dear chosen ones, have you ever asked yourself, why do some people walk away from ruin while others never recover? This is why. Because the watchers are running calculations. They know that resilience is a resource. If your history shows you bounce back quickly, you're marked as valuable. If your past collapses lingered, if every stumble turned into a permanent scar, you're boxed as expendable. It isn't fairness. It isn't justice. It's math. Cold math. The market doesn't care who is right. It only cares who can return on investment. That is why some are lifted out of scandal with redemption arcs, while others are left to rot in silence. Not because one is innocent and the other guilty, but because one has momentum and the other has none. Your comeback curve is what they trade on. If you have a following that refuses to abandon you, if your skills or influence are too rare to discard, you are rehabilitated, whispered back into rooms, quietly rebuilt. But if you lack those buffers, if your allies melt away and your name turns toxic, they let the noise bury you. Do not mistake this for morality. This is survival strategy from their perspective. They recruit the resilient, the ones who can take a hit and keep moving. And they neutralize the weak, the ones who collapse slowly, dragging mess behind them. To them, you're not a human navigating struggle. You're a risk profile, a calculation, a cost-benefit equation. Chosen ones, this is why your strength matters so much. Not the loud strength of shouting down a room, but the quiet strength of rebuilding after collapse. Every time you rise faster than expected, you rewrite their chart. Every time you outlast the whispers, you bend their metrics until their predictions fail. That unpredictability terrifies them because it means their grip isn't absolute. And yes, they will test you. They will drip hints of doubt, leak contradictions, push narratives designed to see how quickly you falter. Because to them, it's not about your fall, it's about your rebound. Do you rise in days, weeks, months, or not at all? That curve decides whether they keep you in the game or erase you from it. So understand this, chosen ones. Your reputation isn't just a name floating in air. It's a timeline measured with ruthless precision. But hidden inside that cold calculation is your greatest weapon. Because every time you rise, every time you rebuild stronger and faster, you force them to account for you again. You deny them the cheap victory of silence. Remember this truth. Their ledger doesn't record innocence. It records resilience. And the more resilient you are, the more they fear you. Because resilience means unpredictability. And unpredictability means power. Number 8. Both your rage and restraint are harvested as fuel. They mine your fire and your silence like weapons. They want your rage for fuel and your silence for control. Both are valuable to them, but only you decide how they'll be used. My chosen ones, lean in. The Watchers are not indifferent to your emotions. They're not dismissing your anger as just a mood or brushing off your calm silence as insignificant. No, every flicker of rage and every ounce of restraint is harvested, cataloged, and stored as a resource.